I'm listening to you, and I think that, in a way, autism's sort of like your superpower,
Yeah, I think so too.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too.
You know,
Yeah.
it might seem like a weakness to other
Mm.
people, but it's actually made you think and be different, which is a very good thing because like you just pointed out, like it made you better at this and that. So it's not a weakness. I actually think it's your superpower.
Thank you. Yeah, well, yes, and I think now it's certainly the truth, like it is.
Welcome to Tenacity with Sonia C., the podcast where entrepreneurs, founders, and ambitious professionals come to learn from those who have walked the path, navigating challenges and achieving success. Whether it's thriving in business, pivoting, scaling for growth, fundraising, or finding work life balance, dealing with loneliness, adversity, or overcoming personal struggles. Our guests share the insights and strategies that have empowered them to level up. I'm your host, Sonia, and let's get started. My guest today is Murielle Ungricht, a serial entrepreneur and the founder of Nuumani, an AI powered platform revolutionizing access to coaching. Known as a mentor to the unconventional, Muriel brings 25 years of entrepreneurial experience. She's a powerful voice as a TEDx speaker, a deep wisdom as a published author and leader. In this episode, we dive into her journey from founding and selling businesses to building a tech startup that merges AI and human empowerment. If you've ever felt too different to succeed in the startup world, this conversation will challenge and inspire you to think and lead differently. Hi, Muriel. How are you today? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Sonia. It's so wonderful to be here with you. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we're already off to a really good start. We're both
Yeah,
excited.
I agree. Yes,
All
I'm
right,
excited.
there's no time like the present. Let's just dig in.
Hmm. Okay.
So, you have founded and sold multiple businesses over 25 years.
Hmm.
What was the first venture that really shaped your entrepreneurial mindset?
Um, I the first steps that I took was in web development, website and web application development. And I grew that company over a number of years. First, starting out very slowly as a freelancer, working for a first company. It was like the year 2000. I mean, I'm not making myself any younger by saying that, but it's the truth. And everybody was sort of going from paper into digital. I
Mm,
find that it's really an interesting story because I've been reflecting on it recently, especially this year with everything that's happening with AI and technology. Like
hmm.
it feels we're in a new like paper to digital kind of space, but now like the next
Yeah.
step. So anyway, I knew a little bit more about computers and website development than many of my peers at the time. And so I was attracted by a company to do sort of that transition for them. I started doing that, and I very quickly realized there was a lot of demand. There was a business there. So from
Mm,
that freelancing, it turned into an actual company where I had to start thinking about, oh, okay, so now how do I find clients? What am I going to do?
hmm.
And as it was, really the beginnings of a lot of things, I started doing ad campaigns, mostly on Google. There was very few competition at the time, especially in what I was doing. And
Yeah.
I saw clients come to me and really request, websites being built, SEO being done. And everything really started from there.
Mm,
Now, you asked about my entrepreneurial spirit. I think I always felt like I always joke that my first real entrepreneurial like adventure was when I was 7 years old. I developed a
okay.
stamp. I'd been with my mom to the post office and I'd seen her buy stamps and I thought it was so expensive. And then I'd like done some market research with her about why are stamps used and who uses them and how much. And so based on that, I designed my own stamp and my mother, bless her soul, she was amazing, was the client of those stamps. I thought I'd figured everything out. But so that was really my first like so I feel like I always had the entrepreneurial spirit
Yeah.
but it took many, many more years after that web agency for
Mm,
me to feel like I could call myself an entrepreneur, which is kind of interesting. And
yeah.
I've seen that with many other people, especially women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Well, what inspired you to launch Nuumani? Is that how you say it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, correct.
And what was the moment you knew you were solving a real pain point? And can you tell us a little bit about Nuumani? So for those who don't
Yes,
know,
of
they can sort
course.
of have an idea. Yeah.
Yes. So I did two and now three really big things in my career, I think, with a few nitty-gritties in between. So the first one was the web agency. The second one is the coaching business that I've been building
Mm-hmm.
for a decade now. And a year and a half ago, I was like sort of looking at things, and especially in the coaching world, and with AI coming along and things really changing. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that the business that coaching was when I stepped into it really wasn't the business that I was in anymore. And so
Mm,
that made me start reflecting on the industry, where we were going, what was happening. And without realizing it, I literally put all of my skills from web development with all of my skills from coaching, and that became Nuumani. So Nuumani
mm,
really wants to do three things. It wants to be a community for coaches. It wants to help the industry be more professional with a certification seal we're working on. And it also wants to democratize coaching by offering an AI coach to
mm,
people who don't know coaching, maybe can't afford coaching. Its name is Coach Mila. And she's sort of the first step into coaching for a lot of people. So I'm sort of putting all of these things together.
mm,
And so to answer your question of why did I want to start, it was really because I felt there was a need for that. Like there was a need for maybe helping coaching get into this next phase because we really cannot like escape AI. You know, I don't know about you, Sonia, but I was reflecting like recently on how did I even do things last year without AI? Like how it's only 6 months ago. I was like,
right?
how did I
Right?
actually get through the day?
Like, sometimes I think about it. I'm like, wait a minute. What if like all of a sudden ChatGPT died? How am I going to work? I'm like, I don't. There are things that I do now that I don't even know how to do it without AI.
I know. It's a
How
problem, isn't it?
crazy is that?
Yes, yes, it is crazy.
It's like
Yeah.
back in the days when we didn't have television, and all of a sudden we got television. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, how do you go back to living the way you were before?
Yeah,
It's insane. But
exactly.
I love AI, so I'm
Yeah.
down. I'm down. Give me AI.
Yes, me too. But so that's really because I felt like there was this need, right, to also
Mm,
help the coaching industry become a more professional industry because it's a beautiful thing. Coaching is amazing, right? It helps
hmm.
people. But there is so much going on in that industry. And so
There
when did I
is.
know there was a real need? So what I like to do when I'm starting something new, like now Nuumani and Coach Mila is a new startup, is I will see if there is a desire to buy based on the promise. So it's a
Mm,
little bit of like market research. I don't really have a product yet, and maybe I have a website, maybe I have an idea, but I will engage in conversation with people
mm,
and ask them. In this case, I was looking for founding members that could get in at a much lower price, but they still had to be willing to pay something
yeah.
based on something that I was still in the process of building.
Mm,
And so that then made me realize that there was a real need. And also this other thing that I think is so fundamental in like building businesses. And you know, now, especially with vibe coding, where we're talking about AI, everybody can build their app, right? Everybody can be
yeah.
alone and you can have the one person billion-dollar company, right? Sam Altman was talking about that recently. I'm not disproving that, but I do feel like building in community and really
Mm,
building while listening to the people you're going to serve with what you create is
yeah.
so incredible. And
Yeah.
so that's when I really felt there was like something there.
Yeah. I I'm just listening to you, and I find it fascinating that the people that are in AI think and feel differently than the people who are not but are using AI. I actually just launched my newest podcast episode. I actually interviewed Bordy, the AI. It's an AI, it's a talking AI. So I had him on as my guest,
That's
and
awesome.
I thought, yeah, I thought the conversation was going to go like one way. We were going to talk about how AI is going to take over the world and humans are going to lose their jobs. That's what I thought the conversation was going to go like, but it didn't. The entire conversation was about how this AI envies humans for our ability to connect and be able to see a sunshine and laugh, and like the whole thing was about like connection. And I was like, wow, we're so lucky to be human that even AI is jealous of us.
I love
Right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was so interesting because I just thought, I asked it a question like, is AI ever going to like take over the world and not need humans? And it was like, absolutely not. It needs to work alongside humans because AI needs humans. So there's still use for us, which is
Well, I
fantastic.
hope
And
so.
I
Yes.
think it goes to your point around building around
Mm.
community, because I felt like that's what this AI was saying. It was like, I'm here to help enhance you. I'm here to help make your job easier, but you still need connection with other people, with other human beings, and be in those environments. And I think that's really important.
Yes, I agree. And I think that is also one of the vision of Nuumani really is AI supporting the work of coaches,
Mm-hmm.
AI supporting us in our development, but not competing with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fear is, I think the fear is valid, right? Like we don't
Yeah.
really know where it's going. It's so incredibly big and fast.
Yeah.
But I think if we can be good shepherds of it,
Yeah.
and I mean, there must be a way to guide it in a very interesting way
Mm-hmm.
for the benefit of all.
I love the word you just used. If there's a way for us to guide it and shepherd it, I think that's really
Mm-hmm.
good. And that's how we should think about AI just in general, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So let's move on. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I want to continue sort of on your startup journey, just so our audience can learn from what you did. Um, did you bootstrap or seek funding in the early stages of Nuumani? What guided that decision, and what did you learn from it?
Okay, so phase one is just done. I bootstrapped, so I invested my
Okay.
own hard earned money into the product. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to take the risk, right? If you're going to ask other people for money, you have to
Mm-hmm.
believe that it's going to work. So you have to put your own money, or you have to be willing to put your own money there too, if when it's possible. What I'm really just starting, and it started 2 weeks ago, is the first funding round. So I'm doing a friends and family round now, which is pre-seed. It's not that big amount of money. It is to go from we now have a working product, we have a community, we have all the pieces in place, and
Mm-hmm.
now we want to grow the user base and we want to learn from what users are doing with the various aspects of the product. For that, I am looking for a bit of funding just to be able to expand a little faster, get
Mm.
these lessons in. And once we have that, and we have the use base that's actively using the product, that's when I feel ready to go out to institutional investors and raise a little bit more money. So there is
Mm-hmm.
really strategy behind it. The first part is I'm doing it, I'm funding. The second part is it's just a little bit of money to get us going and to grow a little faster so we can prove that the concept
Mm-hmm.
works. And then once we have that, you are in a stronger position to go to investors and say, look, but these are the results we already have. This
Mm-hmm.
is what we can already show you. And this is what we have learned that works and that we can reproduce with the money that we're going to get from you. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot go to investors without a product. I mean, you can,
Mm.
obviously you can. But I find that I like to do a bit, I like a little bit more freedom in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
stages. So I still get to experiment a little bit more because, of course,
Yeah.
once you have money on board, you have people on your board, you have people you have to be accountable to. Like things change, right? You're not
Yeah.
really a solopreneur anymore, even if you're still leading the company. So that's where we're at now. So you are meeting me and we are talking in a very exciting moment. If you know
But I
anybody who
mean,
wants to invest, Sonia, send them my
yeah,
way. I
for
need them.
sure. But you have the experience of having built other
Hmm.
companies. So
Yes.
yeah, this is just another new one that you're doing. So it's
Yes.
not 100% new, right?
No,
You
it's
have way
correct.
more
Yeah.
experience this time, which I think is smart.
Hmm.
Um, what were some of the early hurdles you faced building Nuumani, whether technical, strategic, or emotional?
Mm. Well, it's really, it's such an interesting time. So I think the technological aspect,
Mm-hmm.
it's weird because when I started, I had this perception and this vision of what I wanted to build. But we're really only talking 2024, right? We're not talking like 10 years ago. But
Yeah.
AI wasn't where it is now. And so I went out, which is really interesting because now we have vibe coding and we're actually doing most of the work internally with a few people and really building
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing ourselves. But when we started, I actually went out to web agencies like the one I had at some point, and I asked for, offers to do this for us. Like, can you quote me this work and can you tell me how much it's going to cost? And this is only what, a year ago, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, maybe. And the budgets that they were coming back with were enormous.
Mm-hmm.
And in this transition so it really took what the most difficult piece, I think, was, and maybe is of this AI revolution, I would say, was this emotional piece you were asking about. Because
Mm-hmm.
it was really me and my team. And luckily, I have young people on my team who were like telling me, come on, you have to use this AI tool and try this AI tool, because you can be so set in your ways, right? And so it was really this shift I had to make myself into starting to think AI first
Mm-hmm.
while building this business. Because the
Yeah.
truth of it is, the speed at which you can go is incredible
Yeah.
if you embrace AI. And so between this time last year and this time this year, everything changed. And I think the way that I envisioned approaching building things and the way that I'm now building things.
Yeah.
And it was with trial and error, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I did engage developers to help. And then while that was happening, I was discovering all of these tools and these other ways we could do things. And so it
Yeah.
was really sort of this cognitive dissonance in myself
Mm-hmm.
of, okay, which route am I taking? Am I taking the route I know and that's been successful before, or am I taking this new route?
Yeah.
And while I was so I decided to take the new route because I felt we're building an AI, we have to
Yes.
sort of, right? So I couldn't really, I mean, I have to practice what I preach. But
Yeah.
in that, I also had to convince a lot of other people. And that was a really interesting sort of, yeah, I don't want to call it a struggle, more of a journey of redefining
Mm-hmm.
how you operate as a business and entrepreneur
Yeah.
and the speed at which you have to do things and want
Yeah.
others to do things.
I love what you're saying because yesterday it's so funny you're saying it because I'm thinking, I'm like, I just sort of went through something like this yesterday. Um, and I actually sent out my entire company a memo telling them you need to start using AI because one of my teams, they were struggling with something we wanted to develop that was very mathematical and very difficult. And so they reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, Sonia, like we need your help figuring this out because it's my product." So I'm like, "Okay, what do you?" And they're going on and on and on about what they're stuck in, right? And I'm like, "Oh man, I don't have time for this." So I just copy the whole chat and I put it in Chat GPT, and I'm like, "What are they saying?" Right? So not only did it tell me what they were saying, it broke down. This is the challenge that they're having. This is what they're trying to do. This is the challenge. Here's the fix, right? So I literally took the GPT, copied the link, and sent it to them. I'm like, did you guys go to AI to try and solve this problem? And they're all like, oh, what's this? I'm like, that's the GPT that I used to, figure out what you guys are trying to say and solve the problem. I'm like, is what it's saying there solving the problem? And they all kind of looked at it, and we kind of switched, two, three things, fed it in again, and it gave us the final results of how we need to solve that problem. This whole thing took like 5 minutes. The messages back and forth were already at like 10-15 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, before you guys even come to me with this problem, why don't you guys try to solve it by using AI? And then it reduces the time to nothing. So I've sent out a company memo saying, like, we need to embrace AI. We need to look at all these different AI tools and figure out where we can use them in different parts of the business, in development, not to replace you, but to enhance what you do that's really good already, be able to solve problems quickly. And one thing that I do find AI is really good at is data entry and research. You
Mm-hmm.
need to research something, give it the prompts, and boom. Yes, there's stuff that you're still going to have to look for and sort of figure out. But like, I love the idea that you're saying. Like, I feel like these older generation workplaces are really going to have to adapt and really force their members to start like really looking and using AI, because if they don't, they're totally going to get left behind.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's awesome, actually. That's really awesome what you did. And it takes
Listen,
courage,
I'm
right?
the
Yeah.
queen. I am the queen of
Yes,
custom GPTs.
that's
I was talking
awesome.
to my brother once, and he's like, "Yeah, I did this custom GPT," and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! What do you mean you did a custom GPT? What?" Blew my mind. So I started playing around with it. He sort of taught me, and then I play. Oh, like I have like over 100 custom GPTs now for
I know they're
everything.
amazing. I have them too. I have
They
them
are
too. They're my
awesome.
CFO, my COO, they're
My
my everything. I
co-founder,
know.
my podcast producer, like everything.
Yeah. But that's also, see, that's, I think when you look at this philosophically, that's where the tension is, right? Like
Hmm.
it's awesome, but I think we have to also come together and in some sort of leadership to
Yeah.
do it in a way that is not going to scare people and that is not going to,
Yeah.
right? Because I really don't want to lead my company all by myself. I don't feel like
Yeah.
that sounds like a good idea, but I do want everyone to have the best tools at their disposal to
Yeah.
do the best work.
And I think that's sort of that's done through a little bit of culture, and that's why when I had sent out the memo, I made sure that they knew like this isn't to replace you. This is to help you save time, to help
Yes.
you make your job better. And I think that's part of the problem. A lot of people just have this idea that AI is going to replace them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
people are a little bit scared to start using it because they're like, well, if I'm using AI to do my job, am I going to lose my job? So I think
Yeah.
it's important for companies to start
Yeah.
creating, HR policies and things like that so people understand that it's not there to replace them, and it'll encourage them to start using it because it's life changing. I mean,
It is.
seriously.
It absolutely is. And for the first time too, I feel like you can find so many courses almost for free
Yeah.
online to teach yourself these things. Like I'm now like I'm just as a pet project for my own like fun, I'm working on developing AI agentic agents with NA10, which is I think an
Ooh.
amazing product. And I mean I'm incrementally I'm following a course from I think it's Udemy. Like it's literally an amazing course.
Yeah.
And the teacher is so good and he's teaching you slowly but surely how to do all of these things together. And I'm like, whoa. So now I not only know how to build it, I also know how to integrate it in my business so I can
Mm-hmm.
free up capital because, of course, it's limited, especially in a startup, to give that to people actually that
Yeah.
I need to be able to do the thinking and to be able to do the work that I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like AI can do, at least not
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? And that's good that AI can't do it because that's something
Yeah.
you should be doing because it's
Yes,
your baby,
correct.
right? And it keeps you, it still keeps you in touch with it.
Yes, I agree.
Uh, okay. So, as an autistic founder,
Hmm.
how has neurodivergence shaped the way you lead, innovate, and build your business?
Wow, I didn't expect that question. That's a good question.
I had to bring it up because,
Yes.
not to like make you
No,
feel
no, no worries. I'm
uncomfortable,
really,
but
no, no, I feel
I know
comfortable.
you're proud
Yeah.
of it, but I think it's important for people to understand like you are autistic, but you're a
Yes.
founder and you're an entrepreneur and you've built all these businesses. You know, how does that affect you? Because, at the same time, you do have something that you have to deal with every day.
Yes. Thank you. Um, Yeah, so I think for a long time I thought it was like a real issue and it was holding me back because I
Mm,
didn't really know how to deal with myself well. And a lot of things you have to do in entrepreneurship, it has to do with people, right? You
mm-hmm.
have to network,
Yeah.
you have to talk to people, you have to talk to customers, you have to, like, there's so much people involved in
Mm-hmm.
business, which makes total sense. And so for a long time that was a struggle until I realized that I could actually also use my difference as an asset. And so I just taught myself, or I got a lot of help in learning how to network in a way that works for me. Now,
Mm,
one of the ways that autism shows itself in me is that I can't read any subtext. Very hard for me to know what people mean when they're not being very direct with me.
mm,
And so when you're young and growing up, that's really an issue because you don't really know what your girlfriends and in class are thinking or saying. They're saying something, but they don't mean like. So it caused me
yeah.
a lot of issues growing up, a lot of tears, a lot of sadness. But what I've figured now is that because I think it makes me a better entrepreneur and business person because I will be very kind but straightforward, and what I
Mm-hmm.
say is what I mean. And it makes, for instance, like talking with potential partners about contracts much easier
Mm-hmm.
because there is no emotional
Mm,
interference in the sense that I don't get very triggered when somebody disagrees with me or it's like it's very easy for me to deal with that without taking
mm-hmm.
things personally, which I
Okay.
think is something you have to be able to do in business. You have to be able to see
Mm-hmm.
it for what it is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build something with you. Let's see if we can. If we can't, that's fine. It's not a problem. So I would say that's certainly one of them. Um, and then I think maybe a bigger sensitivity to difference, which
Mm,
makes me want to do certain things, like the project I'm building now. The fact that I really aim to provide a really good product for as many people as possible at the lowest cost possible. I
mm-hmm.
think that is I mean, of course, a lot of people want to do good. So I'm not going to say
Yeah.
it's because I'm autistic, but I think because of what I went through, I see how important it is to be
Mm,
kind.
yeah.
And how it is to try also to understand the other person's perspective,
Yeah.
because that is something that wasn't given to me for a long time. And so now just you recognizing it and asking a question about it, I feel very seen, which I
Mm.
think is wonderful. Thank you, Sonia. And I try also to see people,
Mm-hmm.
even if I don't always understand them.
Yeah. Well, look, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm listening to you, and I think that, in a way, autism's sort of like your superpower.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too.
You know,
Yeah.
it might seem like a weakness to other
Mm,
people, but it's actually made you think and be different, which is a very good thing because like you just pointed out, like it made you better at this, and that. So it's not a weakness. I actually think it's your superpower.
thank you. Yeah, well, yes, and I think now it's certainly the truth, like it is.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also because I've come to terms with who I am and I stopped
Mm-hmm.
trying to fix myself. And
Mm.
instead of trying to fix myself, I was like, okay, so this is the way I am. So what am I going to do? You know, like,
Yeah.
am I going to use this to my advantage? Am I going to cultivate what
Yeah.
works? Or am I going to continue to try and be like everybody else, which is never going to work anyway? So
No,
when I let that go, I was free.
I love it. So you wrote a book. It's called
Yes.
Get Unstuck.
Yes.
And it dives into procrastination and overthinking.
Hmm.
What inspired you to write it, and how has it helped your clients?
Mm. Well, again, so I wanted to, so it's really the story of 10 years of coaching creatives and entrepreneurs. That's really what it is. So there's a lot of case studies in there. There's a method in there. Like there's everything really that I learned being a
Mm-hmm.
coach for 10 years. And I wanted to write it because um, I wanted to figure out what my body of work was after 10 years. Like, what did I really
Mm.
learn doing this work after 10 years? And there is no better way to learn than by writing it all out because you
Okay.
are forced to think about it, right? Like, what is
Mm.
my method? Like, even and after writing the book, I started to use the same system for other things, the same question. Like, this is my method when I'm doing this in my business. But so to get back to the book, I wanted to figure out what do I really think about these things?
Mm.
What have I
Mm-hmm.
learned? And then the second reason that I wanted to write it was um, like I have a lot of coaching clients, or I had a lot of coaching clients throughout the year. I'm still a very busy entrepreneur, so I can't really help everyone that I would like to help. But the
Mm-hmm.
book, I try to make it so that there's a workbook too, that if you, but all the exercises are in the book, so you don't need the workbook. It's just a little easier. That if you do the book, like you read the book, you do the exercises, you pretty much can get the transformation that you get from working with me. Of course, it's different. You have to do it by
Mm-hmm.
yourself. But that was the idea, again, to make it available for as many people as possible at the lowest cost possible.
Yeah, I like it. How do you balance your identity as a creative and philosopher with the fast-moving demands of running a tech startup?
That's again such a good question. Very problematic, very often. Because there is, especially now with AI, right? There is a part of me that's like so excited. The tech person is like, wow, we need to do AI for
Yeah.
everything. And then there's the philosopher in me who's like, wait a minute, like, how is that impacting people? Like, what are we supposed to do with it? So I think that I try to, we're never really balanced. I don't know what you think about
Mm,
this, Sonia, but I think like we're always leaning to one side and to the other, and very seldomly we're in the middle and we're like,
yeah.
oh, everything's perfect now. And it lasts for
Yeah.
about 3 seconds. And and then we get another email. Right? So anyway, so it's always like this balancing act between the urgency because I think the startup world has never been growing faster than it is now. Maybe
Hmm.
the dot-com bubble was a big one and a few things in between,
That
but
was a
it's
big one.
right. But especially now, it's also like getting bigger and bigger, and everybody seems to be running faster and faster.
Mm,
So,
mm-hmm.
but on the other hand, I also believe in self-care, making my friends and my family a priority, making
Yeah.
myself a priority when I need to. And so it's really trying to find ways to have a little bit of both in your life every single day.
Yeah.
I fail at it miserably most of the time, but I try.
Well, you know what? All you can do is try, so that's good.
That's
At least
true.
you
That's
try.
true. Yes.
What's one tool, habit, or mental model you swear by for staying grounded while leading a company?
Hmm. My morning routine.
Okay.
Yes, I have a morning routine where I journal. I do some mindset exercise that I find really important, mantras with theta waves, like a playlist of theta waves that really help reprogram my subconscious.
Mm,
Because I find that, like once something that was scary isn't scary anymore, you put it in your
mm-hmm.
toolbox, but then other things outside of the toolbox appear and they're scary too. and they tend
Yeah.
to be a little bigger than what you just overcame, right? So
Yeah.
you always have to sort of evolve. I feel like as an entrepreneur and a startup founder, especially when you have a vision of what you see your business being in the future, you
Mm-hmm.
almost have to be able to beam yourself into that future now and wear those shoes now
Mm-hmm.
to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. So there's also always this moment of stretching yourself. And so I need that morning routine and that mindset work to set me up for the day and be able
Mm-hmm.
to take on everything that's going to come at me that
Yeah.
day. Yeah. Do
I
you have
love it.
anything like that, Sonia?
You know what? I'm not a morning person. I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm not those people that gets up and does yoga. No, no, no. But I am a night owl. So I have
Okay.
a nighttime routine.
Mhm.
And part of it, I also do journaling, which I love. But one of the things is my bedroom has to be clean. I
Mhm.
need to go to bed with like no clothes around. I'll vacuum my floors. Just the idea that like my place is organized makes me sleep better, but
Mhm.
also helps me when I wake up because I wake up to like a nice, clean, fresh house. Like when
Yeah.
my house is a mess, well, my condo, I live in a small place. And maybe that's probably the problem because it's so small. If it's messy, it looks really messy. But there's something about decluttering and waking up to like a really nice, clean house that just makes me feel good. Even if
Mhm.
I didn't do the journaling or if I didn't do all the things that I'm usually supposed to do in my routine, that alone makes a huge difference. So my Sundays are usually spent just cleaning the whole place. And then during the week, I sort of like do little things so that I can do my other parts of the routine. But yes, I do it at night.
Yeah, I think it's equally
Which is
good. Yeah,
fine.
of
Yeah, which is
course.
fine. Like
Yeah.
not everybody, I hate people that are like, "Oh, you have to be a morning person in order to be successful." Like, no, everybody has their own way of doing things. And no, you don't have to be a morning person. If you are, great. Good for you. Go do your yoga. Bye-bye. I'll be in bed. I'll
Yeah.
be sleeping. And like, I'm not getting up at 4 or 5 a.m. to go work
No.
out. Like, I'll be half asleep.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah. Me
just do what's
neither,
best.
just to be clear.
Yeah. And you know what? Like
Yeah.
I just do what's best for me and for my body. I'm also very health conscious like you. I went through breast cancer, so it's
I'm
something that
sorry.
like I really look at, keeping my body clean and doing my routines and taking my vitamins and all that stuff. So, but it's what works for me and it's really about that. And that's why I'm making this point a little longer than it should be because I want people who are listening to not feel bad that they don't get up in the morning. Because I used to feel bad, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not a real leader. Like those people that get up at 4, they're the ones doing it. And I always felt
Yeah.
bad and I would pressure myself into it. And it just wasn't in me. Like my whole being just doesn't like being a morning person.
Yeah. I
Right?
love that. And I think it's so great that you emphasize it because I find that everybody has their own thing. And
Mm-hmm.
what it's about is figuring out what works for me. Like
Yeah.
I had the same as you. I was like, I tried all of these things at one point in my career. And I mean, I even like trained to run a marathon at some point until my ankle gave in. But anyway, it doesn't matter. My ankle was like, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
Forget it. We're not going out every day to run
I
for
like your
two
ankle.
hours. Me too. But it was really based on pressure, right? And I didn't
Yeah.
even know I had this pressure on me to conform to something. And I think being able to stop conforming and doing it
Yeah.
just because it feels good to you is like such a superpower. So I
Yeah.
love that.
And you know what? Just to add to that, like when you are doing it because you feel like it's the norm and everybody else does it, that's when you're not going to achieve
Yes.
success because you cannot stay consistent because you're
Yes.
going against everything your body doesn't want, right? Or you don't want or
Yes.
you can't do.
Yeah.
So I think it's also like just being realistic to I can do this. This is, you don't have to do 20 things. Do the one thing at the right time of the day that works for you and just do it consistently.
Yes. I want to say mic drop,
Yeah,
but it was
I
a
love
pen. It was not,
it.
I don't know if you're listening, it's a pen. It's not a mic. I totally agree. I have nothing to add.
Well, let's talk about lessons learned and failures a little bit, which is like
Okay.
one of my favorite subjects because
Oh
I
yes.
don't think I don't think you can. learn in life without failures. And I think they're super
Hmm.
important. So I wanted to ask you, what's a failure or a major setback in your journey that taught you something you now live by?
That is so good. I think stopping to try and do it all myself.
Mm,
I think that was such a big lesson for me. I felt like, and again, this pressure of I have something to prove, and that means I have to do it all myself.
yeah.
That caused me, especially early on in my career, to make bad decisions because I didn't include anybody who knew more about the thing than I did. I lost money. I engaged in partnerships that really didn't turn out well for me, lost money
Mm,
again. Um, until and okay, they were really wonderful lessons too. So I say, the best lessons I got cost me a lot of money, but
yeah.
I afterwards I never did it again. So slowly but surely, these things taught me to surround myself, to first not believe I knew anything. And even now with ChatGPT, I think it's so interesting, or not just ChatGPT, but AI in general. It's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting because now you have this source of knowledge you can always go to, right? You
Yeah.
don't have to just think about, oh, somebody's
Mm,
asking me this. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to do it, right? No, like do a little
yeah.
bit of research. And yes, it was so hard to do research before, and research was so expensive, but now it's at your fingertips. So I would say do it. Don't consider it the expert that you might have
Yeah.
to talk to after, but definitely do a first like little thing to figure
Yeah.
out, um, if this idea is a good idea. And so what I do now is really I consult people, I
Mm-hmm.
work with people. I'm not afraid to spend some money on good knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I allow myself to be taught wrong by others. And I think
Mm,
that's so I'm always open and curious. Like, okay, I'm
yeah.
thinking this, and I say this to my team all the time. You are on my team because I want you to challenge my ideas. You are not
Mm,
on my team to execute what I tell you to execute. And they're so much smarter than me, So
mm-hmm.
I can have a
Yeah.
vision, but I don't particularly know how to execute all of it.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I was like, I know everything. I'll do everything. Not anymore. I'm too
No, not
tired for
anymore.
that too, by the way. My back hurts too much.
Yeah. And you know what? And you learned from it,
Yes.
right? So,
Yes.
and that's a good thing. So we are running out of time, but before we wrap up, I want to ask you one last question for founders. Well, not a question, maybe some advice. For
Hmm.
founders feeling burnt out, misunderstood, or too conventional, what's your message to them right now?
I would say first pause for a minute, right? If you really feel like nothing is running away, believe me, work like people always think like, oh, I have to do this now. Like, what?
Mm,
Because your to-do is going to be gone tomorrow. It's going on holidays. Like, it's going to be there, right? When you come back tomorrow, it's not going anywhere. So,
that's
if
a
we
good
know one
point.
thing for sure, work is always with you. Like, you can pick it up
Yeah.
anytime. So I would say don't be afraid to just pause for a minute. Give yourself a little bit of breathing room and then really reassess why you stepped into the thing you are currently in.
Mm,
Because very often I find that burnout and overwhelm and all of these things really come from deviating from the
mm,
purpose that you had or from the thing you were intending to do. Not always, but very often.
yeah.
And then, if you can, try to get back into that center, right? And maybe
Yeah.
on just in a wider sort of perspective, you really don't have to do all of it, and you don't have to do all of it alone.
Mm,
There's always a solution, right? And the solution rarely is work more, especially
that's
when you're
true.
already burned out. Like there's so many ways to get to where you want to go. So also never worry alone. Talk to
Mm,
someone. That's
yeah.
a big one because even just that perspective will change your life.
I love it. Well, Muriel, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your journey and giving your advice and everything that you shared was valuable. I'm sure people will love it. But thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Sonia. This was such a wonderful interview. I had so much fun.
Me too. That's what happens when like two techies get together.
I
We
agree.
become really nerdy and then we just like go
Yeah.
down the AI rabbit hole. I love it.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to thank Muriel for joining me today and bringing such bold honesty to the conversation. What really stood out to me was her perspective on being unreasonable in the pursuit of a life that feels authentic and aligned, and how she's using AI to make coaching more accessible for everyone. Her story of turning a weakness into her superpower is a reminder that what sets us apart can be our greatest asset. And that's a wrap. To our listeners, thank you for joining me on this journey of learning, growth, and inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform and connect with our community on social media. I'd love to hear your feedback, so leave a review and let me know what topics you'd want to explore in future episodes. Remember, the future belongs to those who embrace challenges, adapt with tenacity, and keep pushing forward. Keep growing, keep pivoting, and most importantly, stay tenacious in your pursuits. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to bringing you more insightful conversations in our upcoming episodes. This is Sonia signing off, but as always, keep chasing your dreams with tenacity.